Hi guys, welcome to another installment of One Day Alice podcast. Why it is called One Day Alice? That's because dive into the minds of the people and try to have an authentic conversation between two people. And today we have a very special guest, and that is Manisha Pathak. And I have to tell you, I have always admired her from the college days. That's because I always love people who have higher IQ than me, and I have always seen her as that person. And so, Manisha, uh, I have seen her always as a strong. So, Manisha, over to you. So you can introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, as I thank you so much, Karthik, for your warm welcome. So yeah, like thank you so much. That was very kind of you to have such a kind introduction from your side. Yeah, I and Karthik know each other from the college days only. So I think like he's so down to earth. That's where he's actually saying that yes, I have a very high IQ level as to. But yeah, I think we have a very good
Uh,
conversation.
that, that's not true. You always were the college topper. I was never one of them, right?
The topper in college doesn't define your IQ level, right?
No, I think memory becomes memory and intelligence, logical ability, all are part of intelligence. So even I think the college toppers should be categorized into intelligent only.
I think
I
in our
yeah.
call, yeah, please go ahead.
So I might have a good logical ability, okay,
Mm-hmm.
but I think you have the logical ability plus memory, which is a boon for a lot of people to have.
Uh, One fact I like to tell you that I don't read. I'm very bad at remembering things.
Don't tell me. So
This is
I
a
will
true
I
fact.
will tell you an instance, okay? So
Okay.
Deepti and we were talking about. So Deepti was always intimidated by you and Deepika Sharawat. She was also one of our friends, one of the toppers. So she was always intimidated because you were gonna like going so fast that she wasn't able to catch up, and and I'm in that category, okay? So
That
like
is a surprise.
Deepti and me always scored the same. We throughout 4 years of our college life, we had that 70-71 percentage always, okay? And I'm telling you that were intimidated. So because you wanna see a good intelligent person can gobble up information much
Mm-hmm.
faster than the other people. And I always felt that you have that ability. You are humble. I am telling only the facts.
Okay, okay. So yeah, I accept this introduction. Just don't worry. But yeah, I'll think about this because I have seen in like many people have really told me that you're really very bad at remembering the memories or be it any name. So yeah, I think that's where I think as you recommended last time that you should start reading one book, How to Read Faster by Norman Lewis, I guess. Yeah, that's the name of the book. So yeah, I'm trying to build up this ability. Yeah, if I think in college it was like far better than its current what I'm at current position. But yeah, I'm trying to work on it upon.
Yeah, I know for a fact, even when we're comparing notes on the like how to read faster, I
Hmm.
think it was Norman Lewis only. So I can see that you were doing better than me. What where I was. So you can see that there's always a difference.
I think that's the kind of motivation I wanted. Now I'll finish that book for sure. Maybe in 1 or 2 weeks. Sure.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Manisha, you were like we were discussing like what we are going to discuss. So there was a topic you want to discuss about was authenticity. So, like,
Yeah.
what do you mean by that? Like, we only when we exchanged information, we were just talking about like only the headlines. We don't know what we are going to talk about. So, I'm really curious. So, what is you want to talk about authenticity?
So it's a kind of, I think authenticity definition varies from person to person. right? That can be for me. What is authenticity? If everyone like let the person to be what he is actually, that's the kind of authenticity I really admire. Like for example, if you're working in a corporate sector, or like if you're working in any of the startups, be it offices, be it consulting firms, anything. So I think people, if a company's culture is actually aligned towards uh, to make a person, to show a person how he is actually, that's the kind of authenticity, yeah, I mean. So I think that's where we were kind of exchanging views on that. And that's the kind of, I would like to know your definition also. What do you mean by authenticity in your way?
It's a very interesting question.
Yeah.
To me, there's nothing as such authentic. So if I will give you a very small example,
Mm-hmm.
see, what you even see is kind of an illusion. If you think about, we read in biology, the image which form in the eyes is inverted. I don't know if you remember or not. So basically, the eyes on eyes, so the image in the eyes which is made is inverted, and the brain makes it up for it, and it inverts the image into the image you are seeing right now.
Right.
So my point being that even what you are seeing is an illusion. And if I can give more examples like dogs are colorblind, uh, bees can see ultraviolet rays. So each one has a very different view of the surroundings. I'm coming to your point also. Like when I'm,
Yes.
I know you're trying to tell me something, but I'm coming to a point.
Yeah.
So basically, nothing is authentic. When I say when nothing is authentic, because
Mm.
even if you go to a stage show, okay, even if you see my other videos, I have a different persona. It's a character I have made for other people to see me. Right now, I am the authentic one. Okay, but what I'm trying to tell you is that each one goes through something. Like how I talk to my parents is not the way I talk to my close friends, or even what I how I behave in the corporate world. That is not how I behave with my very close ones. So there is a different variation which I have to play. Basically, I'm a very introvert guy. Okay, I'm not. For me, I should not be in the social media department, but I have accepted the fact and have worked upon it. So this is something I've created. When I go in a social gathering, I create a stand-up comedy routine so that everyone can enjoy. Because if I'm an introverted guy, would have sit in a corner and just read a book. I even remember right now that in my college days, there was like a farewell party or something, and I was
Mm-hmm.
sitting behind and was like laying down on the grass and just was sleeping. I just didn't wanted to be in the party. That's how introverted I was. So there's nothing called authentic as what I mean.
Uh, like, see, in my opinion, if a person doesn't like something kind of, doesn't want to be social, it's okay. I think it's okay to be an introvert and extrovert. I don't think introvert as a bad thing, which is actually uh, shown as a bad thing in society. Because I have heard only like I have heard the same about myself that you're really introvert. You should start talking to people often. You should start knowing other people. But it's like it's okay. You so that's what I mean. Actually, I don't really see any point that if we should change ourselves much. If you're introvert, then it's okay, right? If
Okay,
you're
now
lying on the grass in farewell party, then it's okay.
I will tell you something very interesting. So, what I can get from a definition, you are trying to uh, include uh, the personality part into what you are. Okay, and for a long time, I also felt the same. That personality is who I am. But after when I got dissociated with that personality, okay, and I felt that it was just a tool for me to come forth. Okay, because if there's no one, I'm happy to be alone. Okay, and
Hmm.
if they're in a gathering, I can switch my gear to an extrovert. So I could feel that the personality thing was like a tool. It was something, a switch which I can turn on and off. Okay, because what happens is for a lot of people, they forget who they are. So if they remember that they are not the personality itself, they are not even introvert, extrovert, they can be whoever they want to be. When a kid is born, he is shaped by the surroundings a lot, and then it becomes a auto for them. For example, that we are part of a middle class family, right? A middle class family are a bit of introverts. Okay, are a bit of introvert, not all of them. I'm just telling you because we have been always always there are some kind of restrictions. We have a less bit of freedom like the kids who are kind of richer. For example, if I can give you who are extroverts, actors kids, they just go into that industry like it's nothing. They are born into that industry. So they're extroverts. We can't go and do acting because acting is something, it's not introvert. It's being, you have to go to the press conferences, you have to be acting like in front of the whole crew where like there are 100 people included, right? So it's not a part of introvert personality. So I think if something is given by the society, it's just an auto thing. What you can do to build upon it, which is yours, right?
I have a question for you. An
Okay.
interesting question.
Okay.
So, do you think that, okay, according to you, star kids are actually extrovert, right? They are not
Yeah.
introvert. An introvert person cannot. Okay. So, in your opinion, a leader should always be extrovert, right? Not an introvert. An
Uh,
introvert cannot be a good leader.
Actually, is something, there's a difference. Okay, leadership. When you're talking about leadership, what kind of position we are talking about? If it's a CEO, definitely extrovert because he has to go to the press conferences. He has to interact with a lot of people. He can't just sit down and do his work, even if it is a lot. You have to go in, and even if the things are going downhill, you have to be showing up. Like introverts have display what emotions they have, right? It comes to their faces, they can't change it. But extroverts, even if everything is going like downhill, they still exude positive energy, and that's very important.
Uh, I don't feel so because I think
Uh,
the introverts are actually very calm and composed, and they can better perform in pressure, like stress situations. Because I think if any team is looking upon you, and you're not showing that expression that you are also afraid of the situation, you are quite stressful, you cannot handle that situation. So these kind of introvert, like these kind of motivations, an introvert can actually drive, and that can help in the team, like kind of boost the energy. I think introverts are naturally inborn calm and composed. They have calm and composed nature, and also I think they can interact with the people, provided they should have an agenda. I think the major myth we have about introverts that they can't interact actually. But in my opinion, if they have something agenda on their mind, if they have some agenda in the placeholder which they are placing, I think they can actually interact with the people and they can better. You never know.
so that's what I was saying, that what kind of position we are talking about. So because I don't, if I remember or not, the book is Quiet and it's written by Sushin. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
she talks about how introvert is very important in a leadership. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we have a silent partner. Okay, in the business. For example, if there was always a Steve Wozniak to Steve Jobs, right? I'm correct, right?
Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs,
Steve
yes.
Wozniak, right? So there was Steve Wozniak for the Steve Jobs. But I think the company wouldn't have grown that much if there was no Steve Jobs. Okay, both
Mm-hmm.
are important, but you need some kind of brand name. Okay, you need a face for a business to work. I'm not saying that introverts are not important. I'm saying that a position is important. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm talking about a leadership position. For example, if you are talking about making a deal, okay, in that position also the introverts are calm. You don't need an extrovert personality for that. That is, for what I mean is that both can make a deal. The deal is independent of the personality, and
Mm-hmm.
for also for you, extrovert can also remain calm and composed. It is not like if I'm making a positive personality, even I am very scared inside, that means I'm handling the stress. So,
I
okay.
said naturally inborn. Maybe extrovert can develop that ability for sure, but I think they express themselves more as compared to introvert, which is uh, a kind of slight drawback I see. But an introvert have a one advantage that they are inborn, calm and composed, and they do keep things on their own, and maybe they are quite good owners of work also. So this is kind of assumption from my side. I maybe this is wrong, but yeah, let's see. Yeah,
Yeah,
but let's
because to be honest, like I was never calm composed. Like, well, to be very honest, I was an introvert, but I was never calm. Like,
I've seen that.
do you, for example, do you remember our exam days? Were you never
Hmm.
scared? Were you still calm and composed?
But that was not evident on my face. I think so. That's fun.
That is what I'm saying. Like, if you don't put it on your face, then you're creating a personality. Okay? And extroverts can do the same thing. Like, it's a tool, what I'm saying. If
Mm-hmm.
a teammate, if I overshare with the teammate and the uh, productivity goes down because he's scared now, then it's a wrong approach. Okay? But if I don't overshare and I'm being positive with him, the point is,
Mm-hmm.
what is your end goal? Okay, if does oversharing works with the person? Okay, sometimes oversharing works. Like if you say that this job has to be delivered by tomorrow, or our jobs will be in jeopardy, that could be a good motivation for some of the people, and for some of the people it can go downhill because now they are very scared and they are not able to achieve the productivity level they could have achieved. So what I want to say that one personality doesn't work. So it's not about being introvert or what, it's not about being extrovert. What are the results? Are they achieving the results what we see? And that's what it is.
Yeah, I think it doesn't depend on actually whether you're introvert or extrovert. Your success doesn't depend on that. But yeah, how you carry yourself, how you make your weakness your strength. I think you can actually play a very important role. How you take any any position. So yeah, you should know how to utilize your personality, or like you know how to prove yourself. You should know what's your weakness. Am I oversharing the thing, or am I not really sharing anything? So there's a difference between the two. So yeah, I think that person should be capable enough to know how he should take steps, and yeah, he should be, I
Yeah,
think, calm and
exactly.
composed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. That's what I mean. And
yeah,
I also like something very interesting was coming up my mind while we were talking. So the people who become kind of success. What I want to say that they get kind of fame. So I remember that when we were talking about there was a business guy who wasn't successful, but he had an introvert personality and he was trying to like succeed in a business, right? And you were very inspired by him, right? I remember.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so what I was trying to tell you is that what I'm trying to tell you that they have some kind of fame. Okay. Either they have a lot of success or a lot of failure. They have some kind of fame, and with that fame and what attracts to us, we want to become them. For example, if like a lot of people want to become Steve Jobs, okay, so they will start wearing turtlenecks. At one point, one point in my life, I wanted to become Bill Gates. I even started wearing spectacles just to be like Bill Gates because he wore specs at that time. So
Uh,
what I'm trying to say that the people who succeed or they get kind of fame, okay, so we want to become like them, like we want to like have their personality. I feel that sometimes it happens.
yeah, I guess, yeah, it totally depends on person to person. We look up to that person, uh, like where we really connect to. Yeah, as you named that, I really I'm very able to connect myself to that person instead of others. Uh, yeah, because I think he is really authentic. So yeah, I think I shared his name also. His name is Ankur Warikoo. So yeah, he's actually the founder of, like he was a founder of Nearby. So yes, I am able to relate my lot of things with him because he's he's really authentic in a way. I have seen that nobody is so vocal about his failures. So I have seen people talking about the failures which they have faced in the past, and they have actually overcome that failure, and now they are quite successful. But this person is really vocal about the failures he's currently facing, and it takes really a lot of guts to say something about the things which you are really facing now, and you're not sure whether you'll be able to cope up with that situation or not. So that's where I think the thing which he speaks, actually he actually follows the same thing, which I really admire, and that's the kind of authenticity he really talks about. So yes, I really look up to that person. Yeah, I learn from him a lot. I think, yeah, I think that's where I think we look up to that situation, person, like the whom we actually want to become.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
what I
agree
was
with your
trying to
point.
tell you, right? Because,
Yeah.
and I think it's perfectly okay. And
Yes.
I think there's some things which like hits us. We are able to connect. For example, I read a lot of Eckhart Tolle books, and like
Mm-hmm.
he talks about stillness a lot. Okay, how to create space, and for a long time I was searching kind of a truth, and when I read Eckhart Tolle, it just hit me, and it's okay to follow your kind of guts or something in naturalness, like it happens to us that I can connect with it, I can become, or I can see myself where the other person is. So I think that is perfectly okay, and I think we don't even have to categorize what kind of personality it is. I think if whatever whatever we want to become, we should become. End of story.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. I think your productivity really increases when you are actually you behave the way you are. That's the case with me. I'm not sure about the people, but yeah, it's the case with me that the place where I actually work, the culture really matters to me because that's the kind of thing which really impacts me when I'm working and when I'm really focused. Because yeah, that increases my productivity if a person is allowing me to the way I am. So yeah, that's the kind of very good thing I really expect from that organization where I'm working, or yeah, vice versa.
So, uh, so like in your organization, what kind of environment you have? Like, so can you just expand
I
on it?
really like I really like the environment because people I really don't see any hierarchy there. I really don't see. People are really very friendly. You can approach anyone at time, anytime. Like you have some doubt, okay, you just need not see that he's quite senior, you have to block a meeting or something. That's not kind of culture there. I think that's a very friendly culture we are seeing. And that's why I think for the first time I have spent 3 years in a single organization. I was quite changing my firms quite often. Like max to max, I was having 1.5 years of experience in a single organization, but this time I think I spent more than 3 years in this organization. So yeah, I'm quite loving my place currently, and yeah, I think it's a kind of place where people are really. I'm not sure about the people, other people, but yeah, it's allowing people to be the way they are. Actually, they're not really changing people a bit. Yeah, I think yeah, I'm trying to change
Uh,
a lot.
Manija, like you were saying that they don't want to change. Like I remember that some manager was telling you to be much more vocal. It was like a
Yes,
long time. It was like in the previous organization or in this organization only.
in this organization only because I was not speaking at all. So I
Ah,
told you before that you should not be on the extreme side. It's wrong if you're
exactly.
not sharing it a bit, and it's not really you're oversharing anything. There should be a big line in between, and I was not really vocal about the work I was doing. So it's a quite useless work when you're not presenting it to the wider audience, right? So I think he's quite right there, and I'm kind of trying to improve it on, and I think I have quite improved a lot also. So I think
Yeah,
yeah, that's the kind of
I
improvement.
also see a major change. So congrats to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so yeah, that's where I think he was quite right. But yeah, you should people should not change a lot where it's taking a toll on their productivity, which I want to say, and that's the kind of authentic organization I think really I favor a lot when anyone is working in that. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So I will tell the audience that she works in the data science department, and I have no idea. So let's talk about like data science. I think it's been a lot of I've seen on the LinkedIn, a lot of people have uh, started learning Python, and it's a very hot commodity which is selling all around. So again, wanna know, like, I was never wanted to be part of it. I don't know. It just never interested me, or somehow, for some reason, did not interested me. So I just want to know, like, what is the hush is all about.
Yeah, I can see on the LinkedIn that many people are really interested in now data science.
Mhm.
Look, I'm not really expert, right? I tell you before, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just start from the like where it actually started a kind of interest in me. So I think I was actually working in the development role only for 1.5 years. So that's where I came to know. I was thinking that there's something missing in something which I am doing. I was not really aware about why am I not happy in the work that I'm doing, something like that. That was going on constantly going on in my mind. So that's where I dropped that job without any having offer from anyone. I was really not sure. That's where I started with cat only. So I told you about that, and
Yeah.
I was not really happy
There,
with that role
there
also.
was a time like we were both were into the cat. Remember
Exactly.
that?
I remember, and that's why I think you started that cat preparation only after I recommended to do. If you have
Yeah.
nothing, you can start cat.
Yes, yes, I did, and it did not go well for me.
Not for me also. I was like, because I wasn't preparing for it also, no? It was a kind of thing I was trying to fill the void in my life. That's it. You are not doing anything. Now you just need to fill that
Yeah,
void.
that's.
That's where.
I mean,
So,
like, that's true, I guess.
yes,
Like, we all, like, as humans, we always want to, want to have a goal, because without goal, our life just is a big void, and it just
right.
seems so meaningless. Like, even if I'm sitting alone now, I just feel that I have to be productive. I don't know if the society has made us think that that you have always have to be working or something. I don't know, but it just in a very integral part of me, it says you should be doing something. Why sitting still? Like, even if I'm doing meditation, like, why are you wasting time? So it just feels like a lot of time. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah,
Okay.
you were preparing for CAT, and then you thought about, like, what is this data science all about? Yeah.
Data science, I heard about it, like I heard about data science long before I dropped from my job, actually. So that was actually constantly in my mind at the back, but I wasn't really paying heed to this subject because I wasn't really sure of anything, right? Anything. So that's why I was trying to fill the void by doing CAD classes. I wasn't preparing for that. So kind of I sat at home for 9 months and with like a poor score in CAT, I was like, I didn't, and I really didn't feel any bad because I haven't prepared for it
Uh,
a single hour. I haven't sat like for a single hour at home. Like I have really worked out, and still I'm getting the poor score. So that's where I think that didn't impact me much. That's where I started taking some projects on Kaggle, and that's where it created a kind of interest in me. So now I thought, now I actually came to a point. I wasn't I was not that person who was really interested into that only coding part. But yeah, I just wanted to have some things where I can do some where I can relate to the business as well,
okay.
right? Your data really plays an important role in making the insights about the ongoing business for an organization, right? So that's where business makes strategy plans according to their data, according to the insights the data is showing. So that's where it kind of created a kind of interest in me that I am doing something and I am able to relate with the ongoing things in the business. And that's where I'm helping an organization to grow. So that's where my work is actually every day. And I can see that transparency in my hard work, in my output. So that's where I really made up my mind that I need to switch into the data science. That's where I started reading, like I started learning Python. So yeah, then much machine learning. So I was not really good at in mathematics. So yeah, I started doing something in maths, and I'm still struggling to do a bit in maths also because yeah, if you are not good at basics, I think you cannot do anything, right? And yeah, that's where I'm
Yeah, that's
trying
true.
to improve it. Yeah, so that's where this field actually created an interest in me. It's a kind of coding plus uh, the efforts you are placing in the data. So your data
So,
can,
so
yeah,
for in lay terms for lay people, so if I have to say I'm working on that, like I'm working in data science. So what is the business aspect we are dealing with?
it's a kind of adding meaning to your data.
Okay.
You are just seeing that this organization is performing like this. You're just like seeing that this sector is really performing well. So what's basically in this sector really performing? As you were seeing in retail sector, that post-COVID, it showed a great sales in retail sector. But what were the things really impacting it? So these all are the things help you identify in data science. It really adds a meaning to your data. In layman terms, yeah, it adds a meaning to your data. So
Okay.
yeah.
So and now let's go for a complex meaning now. So
Okay.
we are trying to like add a meaning, right? So
Hmm.
is it something like a lot of maths involved? Like how do you do it? Uh, like I can
See,
perform a SQL query, and like for a long while back, it was a very school like a school project. It was made
hmm.
in Visual Basic. So basically, I also try to give it a meaning, and it was like who is your best customer. So like if you can send gifts to your 10 best customers who are coming to a
Hmm.
shopkeep. So I made 2 3 things like that. Okay. So what is a hot commodity selling? So is it like that only what you're trying to understand? Is it from that
This
aspect?
is the insights part. So here you're trying to find out the meaning which has already happened in the past,
Okay.
right?
Ah.
And when you want to do prediction for the future, that's where I'm not saying that data science doesn't play a role in the past data, on the past data. You really need a lot of things, complex things to add an insight to the past data to be able to tell to the stakeholders that yeah things are really important for you. But I think prediction is very very important for your ongoing business. For example, if you own a retail shop and you're one of the departments, say parapharmaceuticals, it's a very important domain for you. So you should know what all are the products really playing a major part in your retail sector and how can you expand it. So that's
Ah.
where you need to make media plans. You need to increase the shelf size for that category.
Mm.
You should be able to estimate the amount of stockpiling I should do in order to incorporate all the customers. So you should not feel short of goods. So that's where stockpiling is also important. And I think visuals play a major role when you go in any retail shop. So whenever you go to you should have some showcase like an eye catching for you, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That should be attractive to you. So you'll not see that thing if that's not attractive. So that's where those things really play a major part. And in data science, that really adds meaning to your data, ensuring that these all are the things which are really attractive for your business on which,
So
and
I,
you should have.
So I've like on that regarding, I have 2 questions for you. The first
Hmm.
question is that do you extrapolate like first how you get the data? Is like a controlled group environment. Like for example, I want to know that if this product will sell or not. We are talking about future now. So like I think the past is very easy. Okay, like
Exactly.
if the past is very easy. You just have to like take information and tell the what is there only.
No, it's not that easy. It's not that. Data is not, I can really say that data is really very bad. It's a
For
kind of
having
treasure
past
hunt for you.
information also, like
Yes,
for
it's
the
a
past
kind of
also.
treasure hunt. Treasure hunt. It's a kind of treasure hunt. You need to spend like, I think really takes a lot of months to just clean your data. And I think data is actually the base. So many people actually doesn't give much importance to the cleaning of data and all, but it takes really, it is very important before you start with the modeling and all, I think. So data is a basic.
So, so how
Yeah.
do you like? For me, I have always uh, like in CAT or also in GRE and somewhere we have those
Hmm.
graphical questions, right? We have graphs and all. I had a very, for me, it's a very difficult thing to imagine data, even visualize the data. So, like, how do you deal with that lot of data? Do you plot in graphs? But
Yes.
what I want to learn is what I want to understand. How do you make sense of some numbers?
Okay. So I think uh, there are a lot of statistics, mean, variance, standard deviation. These all are them. And then you have a business sense also. When you start interacting with the client, you get to know his business also. You get to know a lot of. So I think this is not a role of only data scientist to just do in like he can come up with any result from the data. But I think he should have a, business sense also, and that's where stakeholders play a major role in validating those things. So you should like timely on a parallel note, you should have a check-in with the stakeholders also on the thing. But yeah, coming back to your point, uh, there are a lot of things available in Python, in PySpark. There are a lot of packages already coming. You can also make your own package, like correlation, covariance. So these are other methods by which you will be able to make relations of the data, but like you can build the relationship between the data, and then you'll be able to figure out, yeah, these really things make sense for you. But yes, if you are making an insight from the past data, and then you check it with the stakeholders, and they say no, it doesn't really, it's not really important. This category is not very important for us. The data is wrong. That's why I think business sense also plays a very major role.
Oh, so that's
Yeah.
what you were talking about filtering. If the client says that this part of your data is not important, you just remove it from your future, what you're gonna predict or what the
Maybe my
past.
assumptions are wrong. Maybe my assumptions are wrong. Yeah. So that's where I try to clear my assumptions there. So those all are, it's a kind of very to and fro. Like it takes a lot of iterations with the client to come up with a single model. Prediction is
Uh,
quite a big thing. Like because
okay,
it's
so
really.
like before prediction, the first thing you model something, like you have to understand that this what I'm trying to achieve from the data is actually true. So if the client says that this is the hot selling product, and then you come to your data, you try to model it, and if it gives the result, and you check with the client, if it is giving you the same result, then I think your model works or your data is correct. Is it like that
not
or?
not model we work. Maybe I this validates that you are on the same page with the client. There will not be any surprises in the future,
So that
and
means the
maybe I
data is
should.
correct, right? So that means the
Yes.
data is correct.
Maybe
And
client doesn't really know. Maybe I'm correct. Okay. Maybe there can be two things. Either my assumption, my insight is in line with the stakeholders, and if it's in line, then it's okay. But if it's not in line, I should revisit my work. If it's still coming the same, I think that's the kind of thing we should validate with the stakeholder. Maybe that's the kind of surprise for the stakeholder. He was really not aware about this bad. Maybe he wasn't really, because the data really tells a lot about the past thing, and
so
maybe you are
at this
not aware.
stage, is the filtering is done? At this stage, filtering
Yeah,
stage is complete, right? Okay.
right,
Now
right.
let's go to the prediction model. Okay.
Yes.
So our filtering is right, so we can get a lot of insights from the past, which is still a complex process. And there's
Right.
another step to that complex process, which is prediction. For
Hmm.
example, now we are at a stage that like we are set to, we can predict something. And now the client comes with an idea that he wants to sell this. Okay. Now he wants to know if this is gonna be a next hot commodity or not. So how do you achieve that?
See, for a model to work, I think we should need at least 2 years of data. We
Oh
should
my.
really take at least 2 years of data. So, and you should do feature engineering. So, by feature engineering means that I need to make lot of variables, kind of, for example, purchase cycle for a customer, or be it any kind of things which you really relate with the your objective, right? So you do feature engineering, then you train your model. Suppose I'll just take a simple model, linear regression. You run linear regression there, and there you run it on 70% on the data of 70% of the data. Okay, then you are able to get the results for those 70% of the data, and then you try to extrapolate those results on remaining 30% of the data. If that your results is in line with that 30% of the data, then I think then your model is driving a good accuracy. Otherwise, it is not. So you need to
Yeah.
make a lot of tweaks.
Like Manisha, this like I'm just trying to relate. It just feels like a lot closer to machine learning as well. The machine learning,
Yes,
works the
it's the
same way,
same way.
right? You
It's the
have
same.
features, right? And then you do the modeling process on the 70% of the data, and you try to do the
Yes,
actual thing
it's
for the
the same.
30% of the data. And if it works, then you go and
See,
and place it
yeah,
in the real world.
I think we uh, that's where I think that maths actually will really play a major role, because what we try to do in our daily life, that if that model is okay with my current data, then it's okay. We close that thing, but we are not really digging a bit in between that. What is it basically impacting it a lot? I'm talking about the maths. If you're saying linear regression, just take an example, time series. Okay, time series really moves on a time and basically predicts your future ahead, whatever your objective is. Okay, but nobody knows how the, like, I think everybody, if wants to learn time series, they actually do that. But many of the folks are really not interested in the maths behind the time series. So I think uh, that maths really play a major part, and yeah, so I'm trying to learn this aspect of the machine learning, but yeah, majorly it's a kind of train and test. That's it in data
You
science.
know, I
And then
also
yeah.
You know, I also feel the same as you. For a long time, uh, I didn't felt like maths played any role for me as from the coding perspective.
Hmm.
Okay, so like I went to a lot of interviews. They asked me like if this algorithm is better or not. Can you compare it? So for me, I
Hmm.
can not tell you just comparing it. I had my own way of doing things. I just put a timestamp. The first timestamp and the last timestamp. So I can get to know that if this is like it takes a long time or a short time. Or I can place two algorithms and I can just check the time for the same data. Okay, so I never had to go into uh, like this is like log n or n log n because I could never relate with it. Of course, now I can, but for a long
Hmm.
time I could not. Like, why I
Yeah.
need to go through it? Like, it's exponentially increasing, it's
Hmm.
exponentially decreasing, or what that? I don't need that. I just put a timestamp, I can know that. But now I'm trying to understand is that you need it if you when you go up towards lot of data, huge pile of data, then you require it. Because in my work experience, I didn't have to deal with huge data. Okay, so
Hmm.
for example, I will give you a recent example. So the guy was interviewing me, and he said uh, have you worked with TCP connections? I said yes, I have worked. So how many TCP connections? So the interview was going very well. Okay, so I could answer his lot everything. So in the end, he just said that, okay, how many connections you have dealt with? I said 100. He said just 100. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't had any I didn't get any projects which I could go more than 100. Okay, and he said, oh, okay, we are actually looking for a guy who has worked on lakhs of connection. Okay, and then
Yeah.
I just never had that opportunity. So he said a very funny line. He said that like with your 10 years of experience, I expect you to be dealing with thousands, like lakhs of connection. I said, this has no relation.
Hmm.
I didn't get any project. Like, what is that relation that the more experience you have, the more TCP connection you will deal with? It's more on to the like if you have the project or not. Like
Right.
now I can understand that he was looking for a guy who has dealt with this huge amount of data, and I think there is where the math take place, because like everybody can imagine 100, right? You can imagine 100 in you, or you can count 10, 15, 20 in your hands, right? So, but when you are talking about lot of data, so you need some kind of mechanism which you can relate with, and maths give you that kind of a pathway where you can look through that microscope and analyze it. And I think that's what you were telling about, right? Why math was necessary.
Right, right. Yeah. So,
So
yeah, yeah.
so yeah, so we had the filtering stage. We can extrapolate the data, and then we can predict the data, right? Like
Right.
from this three things: feature engineering, and then like make your model for 70% of data, then applying it to the 30% of data. If it works, we can apply it for the real world application which we are looking for. Okay, so I think that's what I think it's conclude our data science in a amateur way. I know data science is a very huge field. A lot of minds go into it, and something very interesting which I want to talk to you about also is that you have been, I think, I don't know if for the last 6 months or 7 months you have become, you're leading a team, right? For the 6, 7 months, or it's more?
Six, 6 months, 6, 7 months,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
So it's something very interesting development which has happened in your life, and that's why we always talk about leadership a lot when we like have our small calls.
Hmm.
So what I want to understand, like as a leader, from the perspective of leader, what do you have like the difference between the short-term goals and the long-term goals?
Okay. So, short-term goals, I can say, okay, I'll just try to bifurcate the meaning and I'll just try to illustrate it. Okay. Short-term goals is like, I will want to learn maths. I want to learn maths. Okay.
Okay.
Take it any topic. Like, uh, on stats, you can pick up the statistics also. Just like variance or t-test, p-value. I just want to pick up these topics. These are my short-term goals. Okay. And how do I apply in my real life scenarios after learning them? According to me, that's the kind of, and how I present it in a way of project, that it's a kind of product where I try to do a launch. That's a kind of long-term goal for me. So yeah, this is actually the difference between short-term goals, which I can achieve in 1 or 2 months, and I think short-term goals only uh, like create a base for a long-term goals. And I think I and you had a discussion on the same, that Manisha, what are your long-term goals? And I said that I really don't think about long-term goals because I just only have short-term goals. Because I can miss out on long-term goals, but I just have a building block kind of short-term goals which I really upon, and I have a kind of timeline for short-term
Yeah,
goals.
like,
Yeah.
see, there's actually two perspectives what I can see. Okay, and the first perspective is that you have these short-term goals, you
Hmm.
don't know where they will lead, and somehow they connect, or somehow you connect them and you get an idea. For example, I remember Steve Jobs saying that he was doing art class, and art has nothing to do with engineering. Okay, but that's how he learned about true type fonts. Okay, and
Hmm.
now true type fonts are used everywhere. So back was the first one to come with that innovation, and it was because Steve Jobs learned about that. He didn't know where it will connect. Okay, it is a first perspective. And the second perspective is that you have a long term goal, you have a vision, and you do short term goals, because short term goals are tools in the end. Okay, so like it's like learning tools. Either you learn the tools and then think about what you want to do about from that tool, or you have longer vision and then you learn the tools and then achieve the long vision. For example, I will tell you, if you want to make a website, okay, so you learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then you make your website. So that's to making your website was a long-term goal, and short-term goal were these three things. So yeah. So what do you think?
See, yeah,
Like
of course,
I want to ask, what kind of like you said? I think you are much like it seems like you're much like a Steve Jobs kind of a person. You learn a lot of short-term goals, and then you will think how they will connect or something,
yes,
or what you
yes,
can do
this
with
is
that.
the same. This is the same because
Ah,
I really don't. Uh, because I don't. If I'm not if I'm not seeing any reason in doing anything, like kind of take an example, art, or take an example of cooking only. So if I am not seeing any benefit in learning cooking, I'll not do that. So I should be first convinced. I first see the benefit of achieving that thing, and then I try to do it. That's the kind of drive or motivation in me. So yeah, I think short-term goals only drive a long-term goal. So that's
that's true.
where, yeah. So
But
that's
but
where I,
but short term. Some people do short term goals and they don't know why. Okay, so like I don't like you were saying that you do a lot of short term goals. So do you analyze that these short term goals have benefits? How do you analyze them? Because you
okay.
don't know what's gonna happen.
See, I'll just share an example. What happened? Just so when I was preparing for CAT, and I just suddenly realized out of heavenly bodies that I need to do data science. Then I gave some couple of interviews in some of the organizations. So in one of the organizations, I was selected because I was really facing a lot of issue after 2 or 3 years. You're like passed out from an engineering background, and then after 2 or 3 years, you suddenly realize that you want to change your domain. And in a fresher role, nobody really takes you there, right? So I was facing a lot of issue in that. That after 2 or 3 years, you know that you want to achieve something. So I gave interview in one of the organizations, and that's where I was selected. So that's where their VP said to me that, see, you are a kind of senior by 3 years. If I compare with you with lot of folks there, so they are just pass out. This the year was 2015. So you are 2012 pass out, and now you will be working in a junior role, less like junior role when I compare it with the 2015 roles also. So don't you feel inferiority there? Like, won't you feel inferiority there that you are senior, then still you are working under those people who are actually junior to you in a true sense? So that's where I said that this is my short-term goal. I know I want to achieve it because I just want to get into any organization which is offering me data scientist or data science or data analysis. These all are the, in my opinion, these all are the same things. We just exchange the terminologies. So yeah, if you give me just a starting point, I'll figure out what I need to happen, what I need to do, right? So these all are the, so that was my short-term goal there. And now the place which, like the work, kind of work I am doing, the 2015 actually set a base step for me, right? So that's where I'm seeing that now day by day I'm improving in this field, and now I have actually able to, I can say that I am working with the data, and I'm getting familiar with the things, data science things. So yeah, that this short-term goal has actually evolved into long-term goals, and now I can really look into more leadership roles, right, in data science field.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, that's where I've seen this short-term goal evolving into long-term goal, and that's
Now,
the kind of, yeah.
what I feel that your short term goal is kind of a like a long term goal only. So like
Yeah,
for people this is long term goal that
I
they
told
wanna
you
go.
that I select my short-term goals also after doing SWOT analysis.
Okay. So
So
I think
yeah,
it is. I think I feel like you you are actually have like these long term goals. You say that these are short term. To me, it feels long term only. That you have to figure out in the 3 years that you have to be in the data
no,
science or something.
not 3 years. I realized it before 8 or 9 months. I think 8 or 9 months is quite, because that time I missed my timeline. Maybe I just wanted to do that it in 3 or 4 months after dropping my job. But I told you now, I was really feeling like I was actually facing a lot of issue in taking up the interviews. because I was not into data science role, and everybody was actually like needed to get some experience for, especially after 3 years pass out, right? So they didn't expect from me that I am 2012 pass out and then also I'm picking up the fresher role, and people were kind of that maybe this doesn't drive any negative culture. This doesn't demotivate me that I am in a junior role and people who have just recently passed out from the college and they're still in the senior role. That can drive a kind of
I think
inferiority.
I think it actually takes a lot of guts. I would never think of like going to a junior role, and I think that's like a courageous move from you. I think. Uh, okay, so what what I was saying that you know so what I feel that you do have short-term goals. For you, I think these are short-term goals. But like
Hmm.
if I'm there and I want to go into data science, it would be a long-term goal only for me. Even I have to go like changing field. It's not very easy, and I think it's a very difficult thing. Like a lot of people give up, okay, and they just continue the same role they are in, even they don't like it for a lot of people. And I think that's what I was trying to tell you. Your short-term goals are like kind of long-term goals. You say that you don't have long-term goals. These are long-term goals, and I feel it's great that like I remember something. Like
Hmm.
there was an kind of a TED talk I was listening to, and the guy
Hmm.
was saying that his father gave this advice. Okay, so the father gave the advice uh, that never set bar so low and you achieve it. I don't want that from you. I want to set your bar so high, even if
Hmm.
that you don't achieve it, that's okay. So he's comparing two scenarios, like one setting low and achieving it, and setting too high and maybe not achieving it. He is saying that that's more important than that, and you have that in you. That's great. So always like I think you are on the correct path. Like what the father, the advice he gave to
Hmm.
that kid, you are you are only already following it. Okay. Uh, so let's like we have talked about corporate things a lot. Okay. Like short-term goals or long-term goals or data science or as what is like a good leadership position, introvert, extrovert. So I was
Hmm.
thinking, in the end, why we all do things. Okay, so I will just give you a small story. So the story is, I think it's from a strip, and it's a kind of a comic strip, and it says that, and the strip goes like that. There's a kid, and the teacher asks the kid, "What do you want to do?" Okay, just write down. What do you want to become when you grow up? And the kids write down, "I want to be happy." So, like all the kids was writing that they want to become engineer, they want to become doctor, or they want to become pilot. He just wrote happy. Okay, when he
Hmm.
wants to grow up, he wants to be happy. So, what is happiness to you?
Uh, like if I'm satisfied with my life, yeah, same. If I'm happy with my life, if I'm not feeling the kind of anxieties in like I don't have anxiety and all, so I think then I'm on the correct path. So that like the definition of success varies from person to person. So that's where if I'm satisfied with what I'm doing, I don't pay heed to people what actually they are doing or oh this is so cool I should. If I'm not finding any interest in that, it's okay. I'll not do. But yeah, if I'm comfortable with my thing, yeah, becoming over comfortable with your things is also not okay. But yeah, if I'm happy with my day-to-day activities or my path, then it's kind of thing, yeah.
But I think I am also like same opinion as you. But
Hmm.
sometimes in my life, I do feel bad. Like for example, like he's earning a lot. Okay, so for example, a lot of times I have seen like I hear a lot from the guys like Padmakar Oja. I have always like the name flies here and there, and he is always like he has is into Flipkart or he's working in the Airtel. So he was actually working on the Airtel app, so the music Wink app. Okay, so
Hmm.
so and he's into cloud. So for me, like the cloud thing or the data thing didn't attracted me. Okay, just how it attracted you guys, it didn't attracted me. But I also feel that the money is also there. Okay, so
Hmm.
for example, when the Android was started, I was working with the Windows phone. Even Android was boom. So Windows phone attracted me. I followed that. It didn't succeeded. Okay, but I was thought that it can become a new success maybe. But I just wanted it to achieve it because I felt it was interesting, not because
Hmm.
it can be popular. It was a part of it. Okay, but it attracted me. So but I follow what attracts me, but sometimes there's no money in there. So do you never feel that? Like sometimes I feel that I should have gone this, I should have done this. Maybe I should have gone to Android a bit more earlier, or I should have gone to like into cloud or something. Did you ever feel that or something?
I think I can buy the basic necessities of life, right? With the money, amount of money I'm having.
Yeah.
So if uh, if things are really that's the way I think that if I'm able to buy basic necessities of life, then it's okay. If you are also pursuing your hobbies or if you are really enjoying the things you are actually currently doing, because money really can't buy you happiness. Because I'll share one of the instances when I joined one of the consulting firms that was giving lot of money, but culture was really very toxic. So I wasn't able to bear it, and I dropped it in less than 5 months and without any job, right? So I was from that package to zero. It was a kind of like I was not really feeling bad, like not feeling bad because I was just really depressed now. My mind was open. I was able to see what all are the things actually working outside. I can really see, I can really breathe now. So that at that point of time I was thinking like this, money really don't buy any happiness for me. So I actually haven't felt this kind of thing in my life that he is doing so much good. Why am I not doing? Or I should follow this path because I'm happy. So yeah, I should not
I
follow.
also like, I also feel like the same because, uh, you know, a long time before, I had this kind of inferiority complex, okay, that I am earning lower than people or I am not good enough or I should have done more. But, but when I dropped from the race now, I felt like I became very happy because now I was following other things. Like, for example, even doing this podcasting was always a kind of dream, or making videos on YouTube was always a kind of a thing. Okay, I always wanted to do these things, but I was always running up, like running towards the money. That I had to earn more because people are earning more. It is not because I require it. Okay, but because other people are earning more, I need it. Okay, and after a while, when I was pursuing, I started pursuing passions instead of the money. I became more happier as a person, and that's what I'm doing now.
See, the
Yeah.
reason why I also didn't feel like this because I really talk to very less people, and I got my number changed also. So yeah, that so I think no, I was not able to contact with any people. I'm really not aware about the people what they are doing, what they are up to. Except 2 or 3 people, I am not really about aware about. Maybe that's where I'm not able to feel like that. That see how he's earning or like how much he's earning. So that's why I think that's where I'm comfortable and like I'm happy. You never know. You never know.
Yeah, even I don't have to talk a lot, like to a lot of people. Like I have a brother who uh, was in Microsoft, now is in Pegasus, and he earns hell a lot of money. Okay, so the inferiority complex comes automatically. You don't have to
That's
even go looking towards like other people's house. In my house, there are a lot of achievers.
yeah. I think yeah. My brother also says this. He only says a single line. हो गया अब और कुछ नहीं करना. So yeah, he tries to motivate me because this is also not a good thing that you are really comfortable with now the things you have. But yeah, you should also move. Yeah, let's see. That's where I started now again putting short-term goals. So this is the reason why. Maybe
So,
because yeah.
so what business trick I do is that I don't need that lot of kind of money. I just check that, like for that position for the work what I'm doing, if I'm paying paid up to the mark or not. I don't need that, okay? But there was interesting line which say, I think it was from the Dark Knight movie. Joker says that you if you can do something, don't do it for free, okay? So like you have to put a price tag on it. What do you want to do? Because, for example, I'll give you a small example. See how the people consciousness is. Okay, and it's a real example. I think Ed Sheeran was the guy or not. I am not totally sure. So that was a singer, was a popular singer. So people invest or put a lot of money to buy a ticket and go and see his concert. But when he was on a like on a subway station and was playing good music, the same level of music, nobody waited. Maybe one or two people just waited to listen to his music. But the same people would go and buy like live concert tickets just to watch, even when you have good music around you. So you can see that what I say that the price tag is important. It puts an importance to your work and it puts importance to you. It doesn't that you have to have that money. You know, I will tell you a funny thing. In that Dark Knight movie, Joker actually it's a kind of a negative character, but I derive inspiration from anything. So the Joker, what he does, he takes a lot of money, like half the money from the villains. Okay, so these are mob bosses. Okay, so they are very oppressed, or not. I said oppressed. They are very fearful of Batman, and and because Batman is just roaming around, he's being a vigilante, and these people are not able to push their crimes onto the streets anymore, and they are very like scared. So the Joker comes in and says that I will kill Batman if you give half of your money. And actually, the mob bosses give half of their money. But Joker don't need it. He takes that half of money and put a match light to it. He burns that half of the money. Okay? So he says that he didn't need that money. He just wanted to put importance to that work he is doing. So like this is some kind of negative character, but it gives you kind of a positive inspiration and you can apply to your life. So don't work for free.
I think this price tag really, I think it's a problem I've seen majorly in India, not in European countries. You will not see this price tag, but because people don't really associate any work with the price tag, I've seen that there that.
I will tell you something because in abroad they don't have they if you change companies also na they don't give you a hike like in India whenever you change you get at least 30% hike. Okay, I will give you two reasons. No, not two reasons. I don't know how many reasons, but I will tell you the major reason. First, the major reason is that we earn from abroad. Like a lot of MNCs learn from abroad. Abroad, our clients are from abroad. So what our companies are doing, they are being the middleman. They hire you, they charge you extra. Like if, for example, the work is about 10,000, they will charge 50,000, 70,000, and they will give you 10,000, and they have the mid 60,000 for the company itself. So they act as a middleman. So even if you say that I want 30% hike, what do you wanna? They will go from you will go from 10,000 to 13,000. That 30% hike, and they still charging 70,000. So that's the culture. It's the culture. It's a byproduct because we are not making our own product. Okay. Now, if you are making your own product, you are already giving what is rightly the charge of that guy. Okay, so even if you like, it becomes a company standard or it becomes a standard among the corporate culture. Even if you change your job, na, you will get the same amount of money until unless you add something which is very very relevant to them. And like a lot of people, and there are a lot of takers for you. Okay, for example, a, a opponent company can buy you for a good amount of money. See, they will get something which is not there. In India, it is not like that. Okay, so this is the major reason why the culture is that. So that's why there is a kind of uh, like concern about money. and and
Yeah,
and
right.
and lot of companies. And the second reason is we are service based. Because the
Uh-huh.
client is a product based. Think about it. The client is
Right, right,
doing something product. Okay, so product based automatically, like, because if I'm handling a product now, I become automatically important.
hmm,
As in service, you can exchange different services. Okay,
right,
maybe not you, maybe the next one. But if I'm dealing with the product, I've been like, I remember my brother was saying that Microsoft, who have made the operating system, the core people, they are given Z amount of security. Z security is like security given to president or something. Because if they are abducted or the code goes out of from them, the windows can be duplicated. Okay, the product can be duplicated. So they become automatically core. So how can you pay less to these people? So even I give you a lot of example. Okay,
yes.
Robert Downey Jr. started with $500,000 for his first role. Okay, but in the Spider-Man movie, he for 6 minute role, I think he took $8 million. So if you because he started the Marvel itself, so
Right.
he became the product. So yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Manisha, like we talked a lot. I just gonna talk about something which is fitness, okay? Because it's everything we talked about was on mind, okay? And a lot of people uh, invest so much into their mind, and I was among them also, that I invested a lot of lot of time into my mind only. Okay, but now over the last 3 4 years, I've invested a lot of time into my physical fitness. So
Hmm.
what was your motivation point which attracted you towards fitness? Because I know you do a Zumba, you have started weight training. Okay, now what is the thing that attracted you to fitness?
Um, I think only there's always a single point, a single line from a person that hits me actually. So it can be a very small point, but I'm not sure. Like everything which has happened in my, it's like just from a single point only. That somebody said a point to me. Uh, so I'll just share an instance. One of my friends, like office friends, she told me that you should not eat yellow part of egg. That's
Yeah,
a kind of because it increases the fat and you don't need it further.
it's
So
so
that
wrong.
I know, it's
The
so
fact
wrong.
is,
So
it has cholesterol, but it has 3 grams of protein. The white part is just doesn't have cholesterol, but it also has 3 grams of protein. So one egg can give you 6 grams of protein, and if you eat 2 eggs with the yolk part, that is safe because you need cholesterol for your body as well.
yeah, that's where I think it created a kind of that I really was feeling very bad, but I said it's okay. Like nobody, like I don't really pay heed to someone like this. So that's why I think I should start training myself because I always been very less active now, like these so many years. From earlier when we were in college, we were doing lot of things like we were walking, uh, like we had to catch bus, so a lot of things. We were really very active, but now in so many years we were not really very active, and this kind of take a toll on your health also, right? So that's where I thought that this is now I'm not going to.
I will tell you
Yeah.
something very interesting. Like for a lot of people, like only for me also, the one line actually hit me, and then we make a story around it. okay, we need it for health. We needed it for health for before also. Then we make a story out of it. And I think this is good because it gives a kind of motivation towards it. Okay. It
Right.
just, but there's a kick, and then there's a story which you build around that kick, that yeah, it needs to be healthy, like you are aging, and it will be very hard to lose fat and all other things, okay, that you're gonna have heart attack at a very young age, and a lot of these things we build around it. But only that one line is something which also changed for me. I can't say what he said. Like, you can say something online, I can't even say what he said to me right now. So that one line actually I was devastated, and I came back because I was so invested because it was around 6 years into corporate culture, and for the in 6 years we have to struggle a lot, okay. But after 6 years, when I was at a satisfactory stage, I was happy what I was earning, okay. Then I thought, "Okay, I need to do it. I mean, and for the last years, there was 6 months gap because I had to prepare for an exam. But after that, I came back it again. And I think for every fitness, to you also, that you were saying that there was a gap of 2 3 months. I think that's okay. Okay, that it is like always achieving a goal. You would be just very close to the finish line, and you will drop it, and it's okay for one time, second time. But if you go hard on it, you will achieve it, okay. Because for a lot of time, I hear a story like this, that I was so close, okay, but now I can't do it. It will happen. You have to start all over. And as you said, that when you were wanted to go into data science, you were already 3 years late. You have 3 years of experience, but from a different field. But you 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 sat down and you thought about it, that you have to do it, and you did it, okay. Because it's for people, this is the stage they give up, okay. Because they have to start all over again, because it is very hard sometimes. Even small things, like when I'm making a video, and I have made like a big video, and I think that this voiceover is not good enough, okay. But it's very hard to start all over again. You need guts. You need to hit that delete button and start all over again. That's a very, very courageous and brave move. And no, a lot of people don't have it. I think we need to inculcate it. So it's okay to fail and start all over again, even from
Yeah.
scratch.
No, after this line, I actually, like, my brother was really forcing me from 2 3 months that you should go there, you should start working out. Because before that also I was working out, like going to park, have some jogging, but I wasn't really pushing my limits. Basically, I was really very comfortable with what I was having. So whenever I was having pain in my ankle, I just used to sat down, which was really impacting me much. So that's why he always tried to force me that you should go there, you should go. I never went. I never paid any heed. But when this line was thrown on me, I was like, I then only called my brother, give me like the trainer's number. I want to go there tomorrow. So that's why I think I started there. Yeah, and majorly, and now so after that, it not only created a kind of fitness journey for me, but also it made a mindset for me that look, you told me this, I know this. Whatever which is happening to me, I know this. Tell me something new. It is like, and everybody should be kind of empathetic to the person you're saying. You should know what you're saying to a person. If somebody is already facing some issue with her health or maybe his weight or something, you should not say because this person already knows about them, right?
Uh,
Tell him something
I,
new.
I I would beg to differ in that, in the sense, because I, for a long while, I hated that guy, okay, who said that line. But
Okay.
then, like, because he didn't know my journey, right? And people always can say that, like, I'm struggling with it. But I think people are just expressive, and they're just letting you know of their opinion, okay? They are not trying to attack you as per se. Just they're telling you what they feel.
See,
Okay.
if a person really concerned about he will tell you the path also, the way. How can he help you out? If a
Now this
person is
is
attacking,
yeah, go
if
on,
a
go on.
person, yeah, if a person is just saying you a line, oh, you have become like this, oh, so this is not a good thing. If you are saying something, you should have a solution also, and then you should go ahead. This is not a best
Yeah,
practice that
but that's
you
what I'm
just
trying to
attack.
tell you is why somebody who is expressing his opinion, do you think he wants to help you? No, he doesn't want to help you. He feels
Yeah,
happy when he shares his opinion. Okay, so why he's
I
gonna tell
know.
you anyway? So he just wants to be happy. So like we sometimes we point out faults in people as well. Okay, maybe small thing I could share that sometimes we tell people that you have grammatical mistake or it's something even if we could understand what he meant, okay, and it could be a typo error only, okay, but we will point it out that you have made this spelling mistake. I for a long time I did the same to people, but I don't do it anymore because I feel that it was just a typo, right? I can understand what he's saying. I don't have to point it out. So, but what I'm trying to tell you is that this small thing just feels good to me, pointing out somebody's mistakes. Okay, it's just very small thing, but I can relate with the people who just go to people and say, "Are you looking fat? Are you looking not good enough?" They are just feel happy. That's all. Okay, and for me, that guy was a motivating factor for me, and I will tell you, and he becomes a constant kind of a negative factor which encouraged me to positive direction. For example, uh, uh, I was already like doing my walk and jogging, and one day I decided that I have to do gym. Okay, so I've already I have already ran 3 half marathons at that moment of time, and I was kind of have lost a lot of weight. So I think I wanted to bulk up now. I wanted to have muscle, okay, not just become slim, because being slim doesn't give you aesthetics, okay. It just you just uh, you are just very slim. That's all, okay.
Hmm.
So and one moment I saw a starting out gym video. Okay, what do you have to do if you are just starting out in the gym? And he told me 10 points, and I was like I was blown out of my mind because these 10 things I couldn't even remember them. I was making notes. You have like, oh, I have to see my breath. I have to see my position. I was so scared that I could go to the gym. I will make a mistake. I will injure myself. Okay. But the guy said, my friend said, let's go. Nothing will happen. Okay, let's go. Just do it. And I went that day. Okay, and I went and did something over the period. One guy said this line: if you are not trying to lift the same amount the weight is your body is, you are fine. I mean, if you are 70 kg and if you are not lifting more than 70 kg, you are just fine. Even if you do some kind of wrong position, it is not going to affect that much. Okay. So from that, I just started out with small weights. Okay. And that's very important to start at small weights to have the correct form. And then after after you build muscles now, then if the form is correct or not, you will understand yourself only. Because I'm what exercise I'm doing, I'm targeting that muscle. Because the muscle is built up already, so there would be a strain in that area. Because when you're starting out now, every part of the body will ache. So you're not
I
sure
know.
what is happening, right?
That's a
But
positive sign.
it's a positive side, but you will never know if you have the form correct or not. Okay,
Hmm.
so after I just concentrated on the form, and when I build up muscles, they where my journey started. Then I was never scared that I will enjoy myself. I knew how if I was doing correct or not the exercise. And then I hired a trainer also. That gave me, that perfected my training. So that is a good advantage now because now on the lockdown I have built a home gym and I can do it on my own now because now I've been trained, right? So it was a
Hmm.
good money. So like I was at a thought process, I should invest in a trainer or not. Okay, and I think people should invest on a trainer, in a good trainer, because he will correct your form, and that's very necessary. Because as an amateur, you're thinking, why I have to spend so much money? I have not even be pushing my limits. So I think it's a good to start with a trainer, and then you can branch it out. Like you were saying, right? You do like three times train, 3 times of training with the trainer, and 2 times
Hmm.
you do it alone. That's how
Yeah.
you branch out. Okay, that's wonderful. So Manisha, it was a long conversation between you and me. I'm so much grateful, and we just talked a lot. Like so. Just for conclusion, if you have to give one advice to our audience, what would it be? One audience, what one advice? One advice.
Uh, be happy. Keep moving forward. Every day is a new day, and just you need to build up on your goals only. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, we always need to be go forwarding. And
Right.
with this good note, uh, let's end our episode. And I am very grateful that you actually made time for me, even though you were so busy with your projects and all. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, I have now I have like stopped stretching with my current work. So don't worry. It was I think very good for me also. At like first time I've interacted like on this type of platform. So and it's a kind of where I was not really expressive about myself. So that's I have like I'm now overcame that now. So yeah, that was very helpful for me as well. I can say that.
Yeah, I think being in a podcast is some kind of a wonderful experience for both of us because
Right.
it's something it just uh, turns out to be so much interesting and authentic. I just feel so happy. I go back even and listen to the conversation again and again because I just feel so happy to just learn new things in our life. And you can only learn from the other person.
Right, right,
Okay,
right.
okay. Thank you very much. Uh,
Thank you so much, Karthik.
yeah, so this episode is available in iTunes as well. It's a good news for us. With you can listen to it on YouTube, obviously, if you are watching it. But there is an audio version also in the Podbean, which I will share in the description, and you have the iTunes version as well. If you have an Apple uh, device, you can listen to that podcast audio version in that also. I will put that link in the description as well. Thank you and catch you in the next podcast.